Trebor Pena, the wide receiver from Syracuse, who had an absolutely fantastic season a year ago for the Orange, went into the portal, and Joe, all the indications are that he is going to be heading to Penn State. Joe, this is a massive pickup for the Nittany Lions. They need wide receiver help. They just got it in Trebor Pena. Your thoughts?
One of the biggest talking points that we've had this entire offseason is that Penn State needs to have better weapons. And we spent time speculating, hey, how is this group going to look? How is the current group of receivers? Who emerges? Who steps up to the plate? Who can be a dynamic weapon for Drew Allar, who doesn't have anyone and just lost his best weapon in Tyler Warren? They brought in Kyron Hudson, but now adding Trebor Pena, I think really starts to provide confidence for why we've picked Penn State to be one of the favorites to win a national title this upcoming season. Now, to be very clear here, I don't think Trebor Pena is a first-round receiver. I don't think that he is going to be a guy that is going to haul in 1,200 yards all of a sudden that he's playing with Penn State. I think that he fits well for what they need. He's a guy who's smoother than fast. He's got really nice feet coming off the line. He's also a guy that creates really well for himself after the catch. That is a player that they need. Somebody who can actually create some separation, unlike the entire group against Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. That is where this pays dividends, and that is where Penn State fans should be excited that they're just getting a little bit better. Getting a little bit better is how you take yourself over the top.
It's not for me just Trebor Pena. What it is for me is you got Devontae Ross and you got Kyron Hudson.
Yep.
So my favorite player in the draft, and Tyler Warren leaves, you needed a weapon that you could throw the ball to. Joe, now with the speed that you have with Ross, with the physicality that you have with Hudson, and the smoothness now that you brought up in a really good point about Pena, you can't do what you did to Penn State a year ago. What happened to Penn State? You and I both know this. A lot of one safety high was being run. Notre Dame just did whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
They went man-to-man, put Winfrey high, didn't really matter. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they stack the box? They needed to. Joe, they got a little bit of some weapons now. To your point, I don't know if they have a bona fide number one overall guy, like a number one receiver, a guy that'll go in the first round. But Trebor Pena in my ACC rankings of receiver running backs, he was on my list. A kid coming in with 84 receptions, 941 yards, 9 receiving touchdowns. But Joey also had 17 carries and had a touchdown last year for the Syracuse Orange too. Was very versatile for them in certain situations. Joe, they've revamped their wide receiver room. Now, I don't know if any one of them scares you. Like I think Pena could. Pena's got some skins on the wall. I don't know if any one of them like, oh shit, I don't know that. As a unit with added, the run game should scare you because now you're going to have to do something completely different to them than what you were able to do to them the last 2 seasons. Joe, name somebody. I mean, I know that Auburn got
Singleton.
No, Lambert Smith, right? When he had
Keandre Lambert Smith, who left. Yes. Yep.
Right. Okay. So Lambert Smith, that could have been a guy that they could have really utilized last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I don't put Trebor Pena in the same talking point, right? Like as someone that we have seen, Joe. He had 84 catches. I mean, he wasn't their number one, by the way. Like, he was not their number one target. Some games, he was their number 3 target, I might add, because they had a really bona fide tight end, another really good wide receiver, and they would throw the ball, and I knew that they throw the ball a lot. Joe, I think that this is a massive addition because of the fact of what you did in getting Devontae Ross and getting Kyron Hudson here. It really solidifies to me. Joe, you got 4 of the 5 offensive linemen returning from Penn State. You revamp your wide receiver room. Now, the biggest weapon that you have, and Tyler Warren's gone, and I get that. But if I got primarily that offensive line that ran the football at will at moments and times that returns, I got a senior quarterback that returns. I got that running back core that returns. Joe, 0 excuses. There are no excuses anymore. You are the bone. Now you become the team, whether you like it or not. If you're Penn State, you're the team that better be in that Final Four. I'm Joe. You know me well enough by now. I'm not going to come out here and say national championship for them or bust. Yeah. I don't want to do that. But Joe, it's starting to become very hard for me offensively. If you don't take a massive step, it's going to be it's going to be bad. Drew Allar. Listen, there's no excuses for you. I'm not saying that you have a bona fide number one. Devonta Ross is not a scrub. Kyron Hudson's not a scrub. Trebor Pena is not a scrub. You got weapons now that will get some separation, and you got to make some elite throws this year.
I think overall the biggest part is just seeing how bad the group was last year. And like everyone's smart enough here to understand and to know that killed him. Like, no one here is dumb enough to sit here and argue with us, and I'm sure somebody will in the comments of the segment when we post it. Well, what do you mean the receivers weren't that good last year? We had so and so.
They were
bad. They were one of the worst receiving cores. Actually, they were the worst receiving core out of any of the top 15 teams in the country. They had a receiving core that was reminiscent of a bottom tier Big Ten team. It was so weird to see that. To see the best tight end in the country to go on to be a top 15 pick, have this elite running back duo, and then a bunch of randoms playing receiver. And I'm not trying to be too negative on those guys, but they have been so clearly aggressive about gearing themselves up for this upcoming year. I pay close attention to teams that understand their window, that understand the clock, understand, all right, if we're going to win a national title and we're going to defy the odds, now is the time to put all of our resources into it. We saw Michigan do it 2 years ago. And frankly, I think that not everyone really thought that Michigan had that in them to ever even reach a national title. Ohio State does it this past year. Penn State does it this year by enticing Drew Allar to come back. Katron Allen, Nick Singleton come back. And this overall rework of the receiving room and then deciding to round it out with Trebor Pena is where they finally They don't quiet the questions, Blake. I think you did a really good job of highlighting how the pressure is now on, but I feel like they're making it easier for themselves. They're actually making a point to address it instead of staying complacent and hoping that the current group of guys were going to be enough.
I'm going to try to articulate this the best way that I can.
Okay.
You got a bona fide starting quarterback return. If I would have told you, take Penn State, take the logo off of it for just a moment for me, okay? If I would have told you that you had a bona fide quarterback returning for his third year or a returning starting quarterback, you have one of the most dynamic running back duos in the entire country. Mm-hmm. 4 of your 5 offensive linemen return. And by the way, you upgraded at wide receiver. How can they not? My question would be I understand they can. I'm not saying they won't or they couldn't. How can't you be better? They got to a Final Four, regardless of who they played in the playoff or not. They got to a Final Four with that. Okay? Now, they're going to have to overcome some of these games. Oregon, Ohio State, whoever. I know we went through their schedule. I forget who all they play. I think what they got USC on the road, maybe.
No, I don't think they have.
I feel like they go out west to somebody. Oh, maybe it's UCLA. I think they go out to UCLA. Regardless of what it is, they got some interesting games that are on their schedule. But Joe, take the logo away from it. I mean, you would come in here and say to yourself that they are a top 2 team in the country.
They go to UCLA, they host Oregon, but they go to Ohio State.
Okay. I mean, they got some things that they got to fix defensively. But nobody's going to come in here and convince me that it's not a massive upgrade with Pena, Ross, and Hudson. I will remind Penn State fans, Joe, when Hudson was at USC, go look this up, the 2022 year. Did you know that Kyron Hudson blocked 3 punts?
Yeah.
He blocked 3 punts.
All effort.
He is all effort. The one-handed grab against LSU was insane. You didn't have anybody that could do that for you a year ago. Drew Allar, you got weapons. You better be in the lab, and y'all better be throwing to one another ad nauseum because this kid Pena can play. I don't look. One thing the ACC did not get wrong a year ago was the passing game. That's one thing they didn't get wrong. I mean, they threw it on anybody. I mean, ask Klubnik about Texas. You had the number one secondary in the country, and Cade Klubnik absolutely ate their ass alive. No pause, no lube. And that's the one thing that they got right. This kid was one of the bona fide dudes in the ACC that's now on the move. So you get him, James Franklin. I have been listen, to my own detriment. I have defended James Franklin at every turn, mainly due to the fact that I just didn't think that he was given enough. Like I'll never forget, Joe. I did a Pennsylvania radio show, ESPN, whatever. LSU dude goes to Pittsburgh, and I'm talking about him, and they're like, somehow James Franklin's name comes up. And they're just saying, well, he doesn't really have the resources like the LSU. And I'm like, well, then what are you saying? Then what? Mainly due to the fact because this was the beginning part of NIL, how a kid got here, whatever. So I'm literally just sitting there asking myself, okay, you're saying all that, and your expectations of him to win a national title is why? Now you've given him the resources. So now, like for example, you have Fran Brown that's out there saying, I'm not giving this kid $1 million. It ain't gonna happen.
2 million was the number. I don't think he got it.
He didn't get 2 million.
No.
I bet you got 7 digits in Penn State. I mean, there's no way. I mean, the kid's getting paid somewhere. So now you are giving him the resources. Joe, name an excuse offensively for Andy Kotelnicki.
Well, and he has done, which he needs to not get cute with things this year. And I think that one of the overall biggest takeaways too for what you just said, Miami was in the running for this, and we know that for Pena, and you know what, Miami has a lot of money. Yeah, they'll throw money at any problem until they get it fixed. They're able to box out Miami. I think that's significant. That's incredibly significant for the future of this Penn State team. But just in general, though, man, like for Kotelnicki, having a guy like this that he can bring in motion, scheme him the football, let him create for himself after the catch, there is a shot that he ends up being more productive at Penn State. There's a really good chance if Kotelnicki knows how to use him properly.
Well, here's what it boils down to at the end of it. Does 15 take a next step? If 15 takes a next step, they can win a national title. They got some things they got to replace defensively, but they still got a lot of pieces, so we'll see. DT on YouTube with a $10 super chat, Joe says, love the coverage of the Big Ten and Penn State. Thanks for everything. They call me Big Ten Blake.
No, they don't. I appreciate that. I think we do a very good job of talking both major conferences.
We talk about the Big Ten a lot. Bro, by the way, do you know that most of our headlines last year, people say we don't talk the Big Ten enough? You know, like over half of our content is Big Ten content.
Most of our most consumed actually, no, that's not true. Most of our most consumed stuff is Alabama and Georgia, and then it's Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State. And now we got some Michigan fans. Michigan fans liked me because I defended Jim Harbaugh.
Michigan fans hated me because I said you can't cheat.